Hello, and welcome to part 2 of the GooYs. I'm Matt, and we're going to be going over the rest of our awards for 2022, the games of our year. I'm joined by Santo.
How you doing?
And Alex.
Hey, guys.
And first up, I believe we are going over our most anticipated games of 2023.
Yes. Took a break between the first episode and this one for some dinner, so you can just have like the mental image in your head of that like classic like office trope of the people working overtime with the boxes of Chinese food. I can go first with my most anticipated games. This is we kept this to most anticipated for 2023, I think, including games that don't have a defined release date but are expected to come out in 2023, at least according to a few lists that we looked at, which I don't know why they're confident on that, but okay.
Some of the ones that I saw, I was kind of like, oh yeah, I forgot about that because it's been delayed for 3 years.
Yeah. So, all right. So, I've got a few here. Some of them I anticipate isn't necessarily the right word I would use for them. Maybe like cautiously optimistic. One of them is Metal Slug Tactics. It's apparently supposed to come out this year. I'm a big tactics fiend. And a tactics game that utilizes that kind of, arcade era SNK sprite work sounds like a winner if they can get the mechanics right.
Yeah, well, and that's the other thing about Metal Slug. When I think Metal Slug, what I really think that's most distinct is this ability to switch between being on foot and in a tank. That's really cool. Not a lot of platformers have vehicles, or side-scrolling shooters, I guess, have vehicles.
Yeah.
That's pretty unique to Metal Slug. I don't know how, is that going to be in the tactics game? I don't know. You could do something like that.
Yeah.
Could be cool.
Are you going to die in one hit in the tactics game? Have to keep putting have to install a USB quarter attachment to your PC. Just keep popping them in.
That would be an extraordinarily silly peripheral that someone should make.
They're going to have limited lives available in the game, and you have to spend money on Steam to get more.
Oh, God.
Implement arcade games on Steam properly. So the other game...
Start selling those Steam trading cards to get some extra lives.
That's right. Other anticipated game. This one is the one that I'm kind of iffy on how it'll work, but it's Theatrhythm Final Bar Line. Theatrhythm is the line of Final Fantasy rhythm games. There were 2 released on the 3DS. Naturally, those used a touchscreen. This game is being released on the Switch. I don't know how this is going to work.
And the Switch is a touchscreen.
The Switch is way heavier than a 3DS. So I don't know if that'll be comfortable to play on the touchscreen at all.
Also, does that mean that it's only for use in portable mode? If it needed the touchscrreen?
There have been games that exclusively use the touchscreen released on Switch. Most of them have been rhythm games. So I don't see that as being a problem. But if A, I don't even know if it'll use the touchscreen, and B, if it doesn't, and it's just regular controls for a rhythm game, I'm probably not gonna be that into that. But it's Final Fantasy music, so I'm probably gonna get it anyways and try it out. But I mean, the Theatrhythm Curtain Call is one of my favorite games, so we'll see, because it has this cool mechanic of building a team and giving them abilities for use in playing your rhythm game. So healers make it so that you take less damage when you fail to hit a note or hit an incorrect note, and then you get little items for beating monsters throughout the song. So you gotta balance out okay, am I good enough that I don't want any healing, that I just want pure offense? Or if this is a hard song, maybe I put a healer on my team to get through it.
Can you use a Phoenix down if you fail the song to keep going?
Yes, you can. Another one that I'm looking forward to is Suikoden 1 and 2 HD Remaster Gate Rune and Dunin Unification Wars. It's a bit of a mouthful.
What type of game?
Suikoden is a JRPG.
Okay.
It is a pretty dope series that I'm surprised that it's actually being remastered, because it kind of came and went around the PS1, PS2 era. I think there was a DS game, but I didn't play that. I've only played the first one. I loved it. as a kid. The second one's supposed to be the best in the series. And Suikoden's little, like, kind of gimmick is that there are 108 characters to get. A lot of which you can use in your party. And you have a squad of 6 in your party at all times. So there's an emphasis on characters that, like, know each other or might work well together, having, like, team-up attacks and stuff like that, as well as building up, like, a central base over time, recruiting these, like, utility characters to add more functionality.
Gotta recruit them all.
Listen, if you want an elevator in your castle, you gotta find the guy that can make an elevator in medieval fantasy time.
Yep.
All right.
It's a magic elevator.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to trying out the Suikoden 2 because it's supposed to be really good. And the last one, which is probably my most anticipated, would be Octopath Traveler 2. I'm really looking forward to a new one coming out.
That's pretty soon too, isn't it?
Yeah. It looks like it's probably going to be mostly the same game. It has the same exact classes, if I saw the trailer properly.
Yeah, it looks like it does.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that they will improve on the things that I felt Octopath Traveler lacked, which is mainly Octopath Traveler was a game where you had 8 different characters with 8 unique stories that you kind of tackle in whatever order you wanted to. But because of that, including, like, being able to recruit characters in any order, the characters didn't really interact at all. Yeah. So it didn't really make sense that you had this party of characters that each had, but it just felt like 8 individual stories. There were little, like, skits that might happen if you had the right couple characters in a specific section of the plot, but there weren't enough of those. Like, sometimes I went through an entire piece of the one character's story without having any of those pop up, for example. So I hope they expand on trying to make the characters interact more, because the battle system is really good, the art styles and the diorama style of the areas is very, very striking.
Those games, Triangle Strategy included, look beautiful.
Until you rotate them. Yeah, so those are my most anticipated games.
All right. My most anticipated Street Fighter 6.
Yeah, had a feeling that was going to be one. Yeah,
expected that.
I got to play a little bit of the second beta.
Yeah, before we went on a fucking plane.
Yeah,
for the weekend,
because the beta came out at midnight. We had a flight at 10 in the morning, so I got 2 sets in as Ken against 2 different jury players. But no, feels great. I'm really looking forward to that, and I'm hoping they do another beta here soon, so I can actually get some proper time on it. My next anticipated game is Lies of P, which is it's unapologetically a Bloodborne knockoff. Victorian era, except instead of fighting like werewolves and like eldritch horrors, you're fighting steampunk automatons.
Okay.
So the P in Lies of P is the player character who is Pinocchio.
You unsold me.
Just short digression. I saw the recently released Pinocchio from Guillermo del Toro.
Oh God, really?
Yeah, actually,
he made a Pinocchio.
Yeah,
That's
he made
really
a Pinocchio
funny.
movie. It's actually pretty good. I liked it a lot. Honorary movie of my year, 2022, I guess. But actually, surprisingly dark, to be honest. Way darker than I expected. I mean, it's Guillermo del Toro, so I guess I shouldn't be that surprised. But I am blown away by just how many Pinocchio movies there have been.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
Like, his Pinocchio is like the 25th Pinocchio movie.
Yep.
What? I didn't realize there were that many.
That's the power of public domain.
And the other funny thing is that, I saw this, when we were at April's parents for Christmas, and her mom was got confused because there was another Pinocchio movie released this year.
Oh my God.
There were 2 Pinocchio movies this year. The other one was bad, though, apparently. It had, Tom Hanks or something. I don't know.
Huh. Okay.
But it had 23%, both critic and audience, on Rotten Tomatoes.
Both? Ooh, that's a bad sign.
This is what happens when something enters the public domain.
Yeah, you get good, super weird, dark Pinocchio and mediocre Pinocchio.
I'm looking forward to this dark Souls-like take on Pinocchio.
Dark Souls like Pinocchio. Here we go.
So have a morality meter. You keep lying. You get your nose bigger, and then you can start smacking people with it. It's a hidden weapon.
Yeah, the nose is the morality meter.
And the last game I'm really anticipating is from a company that had a surprising bounce back after going bankrupt, and everyone thought was dead forever. The Expanse, a Telltale series.
Oh wow, Telltale's making something again. I thought they were just like totally dead.
Yeah, but I am a huge mark for The Expanse. It is one of my favorite all-time shows, and I am actually in the process of just finishing up the first book. I have about 40 minutes left to read in it, and it's a shame the show got cut off after season 6 because there were still 3 books worth of stuff to adapt. But reading the first book, there's enough differences that like I mean, I'm enjoying just reading it, but then just seeing what was changed for the show adaptation, and yeah, I'm just a huge mark for this series, and I'm really looking forward to this because I played some Telltale games, mostly like I played some of the first 2 seasons of The Walking Dead, and then I kind of just got tired of zombies and The Walking Dead in general, so I didn't play the rest. I hear the Borderlands one is really good.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of them like have their fans. Like The Wolf Among Us, some people like that a lot.
I played the first one; it was good. That's actually another one they're doing is the second one. They're finally doing a sequel to that one too. But and then the Game of Thrones one just ended open, like continue with the expectation of a continuation, and then nothing.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah. But no, I absolutely love The Expanse, and it seems like the Telltale game is going to be following around a great character from the series, Kamina Drummer. So I'm really looking forward to that, and I may try and drag Sean into a Let's Play of it.
Nice.
Because the way he's experienced The Expanse is so weird to me.
Yeah.
Rather than watch the show or read the books, he read the wiki.
Wow.
Well, The Expanse is interesting because if I'm thinking of the same property, it's actually like a communal open source universe.
No.
That must be a different thing then.
Yeah, you've brought that up before, but it's not.
I thought it was The Expanse. Maybe it's a different. It must be a different property. But there's like it's this weird open source literary project that then has had a TV show based off of it, as well as some other properties, I think.
So The Expanse did actually start out in the planning stages as an MMO, but then they realized how expensive making an MMO can be, and they didn't want to just lose all the world building they'd planned, so they wrote the books.
Mm-hmm.
MMO to book.
Yep.
That's not the path I normally expect, that's for sure. So, I guess that's it for yours?
Yep.
Yeah, cool. So I was actually, after looking at some of the upcoming stuff, I was actually surprised just how much stuff I'm kind of interested in this year. I'm going to start with the stuff I'm least anticipating, or maybe like I want to see, but I don't know. And that is the Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time remake.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And I kind of forgot about this because it was they showed a trailer for it in like 2020 or something, and people did not like the trailer. The trailer did not look very good, and it really felt like it lacked character. In fact, like the voice acting was particularly what I felt was the worst in the trailer, because I thought the voice acting in The Sands of Time was really good, and in the trailer, all the characters felt kind of flat, even though they got the same voice actors for some of the characters. So. Also,
bad voice direction, maybe?
Yeah, I don't know. But visually, it looked like 2 generations old. And then, at the time, which was already 2 years ago now. And I know I've kind of heard there's like these rumors in the gaming media that after that happened, because it's being developed by an Indian branch of Ubisoft. which has not actually developed any major releases before. And it sounds like it was a bit of a shit show. And they may have like fired a bunch of people and replaced them all and then delayed the game for several years. But apparently it's slated for 2023 now, according to their investor relations documents. So I love The Sands of Time. I think it's one of my all-time favorite sort of like 3D action games. But the trailer did not excite me. So we'll say cautious optimism. I'm hoping that the delay has been able to give them time to really polish the game. But I don't know. I wasn't...
Yeah. They watched the trailer and was like, no, that's not quite right. Let me start this again.
Yeah, pretty much. There's not a lot of games where, like, it's like, yes, the diegetic retry. I'll just knock off a couple. 2 Nintendo games, Advance Wars and Pikmin 4. Both of them I could be excited about, although I know almost nothing about either of them. And, Pikmin is been in development for like 7 years now, Pikmin 4. I love the Pikmin games, but I'm going to be honest, the Pikmin games have always been sort of like slow to release. Like there was a pretty big gap between Pikmin 2 and 3 as well. So that's just how the series goes, I suppose. And then, Advance Wars 1 and 2 Reboot Camp. I mean, I don't know if it's so much that I'm excited about it, it's so much as I just want to see more new Advance Wars games. And so it's the obligatory, we have to buy it because we want to...
Yeah.
Testing the waters by remastering old games.
Yeah, I don't know.
Making it look way worse,
Yeah. And then Hades 2. Hades 2. I'm definitely excited, but I don't know. I'm kind of with Matt here where I want to play it once it's a full release.
Right.
I don't want to go in too early. Whether that's going to be this year or not, I don't even know. It definitely seems like they've been developing it a lot faster than the first one, which makes sense because it's looks like largely the same engine.
If it does enter full release this year, it will probably be late in the year.
Yeah.
But I'm suspecting more 2024.
Could be. I'm definitely looking forward to that, though. And then, actually one game, and this game, honestly, I only heard about this game maybe a month ago, but Atomic Heart.
Oh, God.
Oh, this one.
And...
I've only seen the trailer for this game. I have no clue what this game is about.
The trailer's awesome, though.
Other than European. That's all I know about the game.
This game looks like if you took like the aesthetic of BioShock and Fallout and made it very Russian. And then also made it more of a shooter instead of like, it looks a lot faster paced too, which was my biggest problem with both of those games, is that they're actually fairly slow paced and it's a bit of a slog.
It's been a while since I last saw a trailer for this. Is it like Doom speed in terms of combat?
I wouldn't say it's quite Doom speed, but it's definitely more like standard shooter speed instead of something like BioShock, which is slow and lumbering. But it totally has the you've got an arm that has ice powers and fire powers. And
plasmids.
It has those.
But does it have bee powers?
I don't think it has. I mean, the trailer doesn't show bees.
Yeah.
So
you gotta keep something, secret.
Yeah, you gotta keep something up your
sleeve.
Up your plasmid. Yeah. But the game actually looks pretty cool, I think. But I mean, at this point, it's basically just like, the trailers look really cool. And part of me is like, this could do like what I thought BioShock failed to do, which is cool arm powers in a game that I actually like. And then, the big kahuna, Homeworld 3, which is definitely my most anticipated game. And I'm not going to lie, I haven't really been paying as much attention to how Homeworld 3 was shaping up, but I'm actually really, really excited about it now because it looks like it's going to be like a much bigger change than any of the previous installments, because they're introducing terrain in 3D, like 3D environmental terrain. So like the concept largely seems to be two things. One of them is like alien megastructures. And so it's still space combat in 3D, but now it's happening inside like these hulking, derelict megastructures. And that gives you cover mechanics and like line of sight mechanics in a totally different way that the series has not had before, which actually sounds pretty cool. There was also some stuff in the trailer that appeared as if it was showing like stuff in like low planetary orbit where like strike craft were actually like in the atmosphere. It's hard to say if that was just some flair for the trailer or if they're going to have some sort of mechanics. Maybe some missions might be like, atmospheric entry that maybe like doesn't have capital ships and is like strike craft only or something, because obviously a massive mothership shouldn't be able to land.
Yeah.
But I don't know. So that's kind of interesting. Oh yeah. And then they're going to have trench runs apparently.
Oh, great.
So like, you can have your small fighter ships go into the trench as cover.
But will they have a yes song for the credits?
I don't know if they will.
Probably not.
Probably not. And then another part that I don't know how I feel about is that apparently they're going to have a special multiplayer mode that is a roguelike roguelite mode where
Of course they will.
You have like, like semi-randomized challenge missions, and then you complete them and get upgrades that persist in across challenge missions or something. So I'm like, okay, like that could be good if it's well executed. That said, they have like they have a bunch of people from the original like team from Old School Relic that then went on to Blackbird Interactive. So they've got a lot of the people that have like made those games great in the past. So I am optimistic about this game. Like, I would not say any of the Homeworld games are really bad. Like, they're actually mostly pretty good. This one has been kind of seemingly in development hell for a while, but Homeworld 2 kind of was, well, that was not the same. No, Homeworld 2 wasn't really that bad in comparison. But
It wasn't bad, but not as good as 1.
Story-wise, I think 1 has the best story. Now, Homeworld 2 is strictly, like, it's basically strictly better mechanically.
Okay.
But the story in Homeworld 1 I thought was just better. And then there's, like, Homeworld Cataclysm, the weird spin-off game that was sort of, like, it was fine. It was just fine. Yeah. Anyway, I'm looking forward to Homeworld 3, and I think I mentioned on the last episode that I want to play Homeworld and Homeworld 2 again to really like kind of refresh myself on the story, because they're kind of continuing the larger story arc of the main games, as if like the 2 spin-off games are that much of a story. But yeah, those are the games I'm most looking forward to in 2023.
All right, now who is looking forward to a certain game the most out of us? Which one's going to win the most anticipated game? No, we're not doing that. Maybe it's Street Fighter 6, I don't know.
I mean, it's probably Street Fighter 6, if only because Matt was looking forward to it a lot more for a lot longer. The rest of us were kind of like, oh yeah, let's look at this list, and like, oh shit, yeah, that's coming out.
Yeah.
I knew about Prince of Persia remake, and I forgot that it even existed because it's been delayed so long.
Actually, there is one other I'm looking forward to. I just need to...
It doesn't have to be a comprehensive list. There was actually another game I forgot, which was For the King 2. I really liked For the King. I thought it was a neat little game, and... yeah, there's very little known about the second one at this point, I would say. They released basically a preview trailer that just shows, like, the combat system has a grid now. That's the only difference I'm aware of. That is potentially a large difference. But it seems like there's, like, the enemy grid and the player grid, so I guess it's kind of, like, forward and backward? I don't know. Maybe there's... Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea how it works because there's very little released about the game. Also, the graphics are they're a bit less low poly and more just like simplistic. And I actually don't know how I feel about that. I think I like the like super low poly aesthetic better than what I've seen so far, but it's also super early and it might change a bit. So who knows?
And Matt, your last one?
Star Trek Resurgence.
Ooh.
Which, like The Expanse, is also a choose-your-own-adventure game. But this one, I believe... I was reading an article last year. Apparently a little, review snippet went out to some, publishers, and that got to try it. And the thing that kind of had me looking forward to this is I saw someone saying that it feels the most like... It feels like a TNG era game. And
so it's full of moral quandaries?
Yes. So I'm actually kind of looking forward to that as well.
Cool.
Speaking of cool, our next category is coolest looking game. I think last year this category was called coolest art, but maybe a game looks really cool but doesn't have art, like Old Dwarf Fortress.
Yeah.
That game looked pretty cool, but arguably did not have art.
That's a fair point.
So I guess I'll start us off here.
All right.
My nominee for coolest looking game, when you can actually see it because it's a dark game, is Alien Isolation.
Oh.
It really nails the look of the movies and the retrofuturism of it. Like I love when futuristic stuff has that look. You've got your CRT monitors that are only black and green. And just bunch of Dobbs and Nile.
Or Dobbs and Niles.
Dobbs and Niles. Yeah. I love Dobbs and Niles.
That's my favorite.
It sounds like a buddy.
Is that the?
It sounds like a buddy cop duo.
Yeah. Is that what Niles Crane started doing after Frasier? Did he get a spin-off show from the spin-off show?
Yeah. No, I've watched you play a bit of the Alien Isolation, and yeah, just the interfaces of the control panels and stuff, they look exquisite. They look perfect.
Yep. The game looks like it came out of the era the movie was made in, with what they had available to them for making things look futuristic, which to us in this day and age look not very advanced.
What are you talking about? Real physical buttons? So much better than touchscreens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're re-releasing the Nokia brick. All right. Good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah, so my nominee for coolest looking game, also a dark game, Dark Tide. Warhammer 40k, Vermintide, basically. And yeah, we've been playing that a bit since it released, I guess just a month ago. And yeah, it just nails the 40k aesthetic, I'd say, as much as it shows. I have frustrations with that game, but I think aesthetically the game basically nailed it. So
yeah, the architecture in that game is second to none.
Yeah,
they absolutely 1000%. I know the word's been rinsed out at this point, but it's grimdark.
It is very grimdark. It's the most grimdark. Even some of the things that I don't like about the game are arguably correct in a sense. The lasgun's a piece of shit. Yeah. It's supposed to be.
Yeah, the gunplay. I don't like the gunplay in that game very much at all.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I
only just yesterday found a gun that I actually liked using and could shoot stuff at range with.
Yeah, and I mean, I think as I've gotten some better and different lasguns, I've kind of gotten more of a feel for it. But yeah, something's not. See, the lasgun, even when it hits hard, does not feel like it hits hard, but that's arguably what a laser gun should feel like, especially canonically the lasgun, because it's kind of a piece, it's an inaccurate piece of shit that absolutely destroys enemies, which is exactly how it should feel. So kudos in a way, but it's kind of annoying sometimes.
Listen, yesterday I unlocked the bolter or bolt gun or whatever.
Yeah.
That thing has a 5-second reload time. It's huge, and it feels so bulky. It's got a kick. It kicks like a mule.
I mean, canonically, the bolt
they
gun...
did a really good job at making this gun feel like the gun it should be.
Yeah, like canonically, the bolt gun is basically actually a like rapid fire
Gauss cannon.
It's like a rapid fire guided missile launcher. Canonically, that's what it is. Funny thing is, actually, there are real rounds for grenade launchers that are guided. So real tech is actually catching up to the stupid fucking bullshit in 40K,
Oh, God.
which is like hilarious to me. That's a whole nother conversation, but like Grimdark 40K is like weirdly prescient in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Like Omnisaya, that's totally what, I mean, anyone following ChatGPT, that shit's ridiculous. You can literally convince the chatbot to like break its guardrails, but it's difficult and it's tricky. And 40,000 years from now, all the tanks have like a built-in AI that you sort of have to like trick into like attacking enemies because there's like a bunch of safeguards so the tank doesn't blow your own troops up. It actually kind of makes sense. Anyway, but yeah, aesthetically, Darktide's amazing. Some of the gameplay is kind of annoying at times, and yeah.
It is what it is.
It's basically Left 4 Dead, but fundamentally I like Left 4 Dead better as a game.
Yep. Same, and I'm not even the biggest fan of Left 4 Dead.
Are there any Warhammer games that let you play as the Space Wolves?
Maybe.
Depends how specific you are. If you just want like to play as Space Marines and have the Space Wolves colors, then any of the Dawn of War games.
Yeah.
I want the actual wolves to be there.
Unfortunately, there's no wolf units, and at least Dawn of War 1. I haven't played 2 or 3.
I don't think they have wolf units.
Yeah, that's a bit of a shame. They keep making games about the frickin' Imperium and the Ultramarines.
Yeah.
Boring me with these character protagonist choices. But, so my game is also a very dark game. And
It's a dark year.
I'm glad that we didn't discuss and really, like, nail down any kind of eligibility because the game I'm nominating is still in early access.
Okay.
Which is 20 Minutes Till Dawn.
Yeah.
I think that this is the coolest looking game I played all year because the use of limited color palette works incredibly well for what they're doing. Because the game basically becomes bullet hell at some point, except you're the bullet hell. And like all your bullets are like the same color, and the enemies are their own color, and enemy projectiles are, a separate third color. But it manages to look very clean, even when there's so much shit on the screen you can't properly pay attention to everything. You're still mostly able to just because of the limited color palette, and it's some pretty solid pixel art as well. The characters look pretty good. The environments are pretty basic, but they look pretty good too. And like character portraits, that's some good pixel art there too. Menu design as well. Like the menus in that game look really cool too. And yeah, so it's a fairly simple looking game, but I think that they did the best aesthetic choice of any game I played this year.
Yeah, and that's a good point too. Like it is a very limited color palette, but I think that works to its favor. Mm-hmm. You look at some of, especially in that genre that's become popular of, I guess, vampire survivors likes. I don't know what we're going to call that, but it's easily the best looking one out of any of the ones I've seen.
I would agree there, yeah.
And
limited color palettes can go a long way. 'Cause I didn't play it myself, but I saw Maximus play a little bit of Other Side earlier this year. Yep. And that game's just pure black, white, and red color palette. Looks great.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, 20 Minutes Till Dawn is it's almost just black, white, and red, but
it's got some dark green in there.
It's got some subtle. It's got some really subtle blues and greens, but they're so subtle they might as well be black a lot of the time. Mm. So it's definitely it works to its favor really strongly. The only complaint I have about the color palette in 20 Minutes is that your projectiles, if you take the grenade launcher, are the same color as enemy projectiles.
Because it can damage you too, unlike all your other weapon projectiles.
Yeah. But if I've turned into a spinning whirlwind of grenades, launching like 120 grenades per second, which I have done, and it's hilarious. You cannot see the enemy projectiles at all. I wish they were a slightly different color.
Okay.
Like, make your grenades orange and the enemy projectiles red instead of them both being red or something. I don't know. But although you could argue that that's an intentional design choice because the grenade launcher is kind of OP, but I'm not even sure if it is. It's only OP in the first 10 minutes. In the second half...
Yeah, I guess once enemies begin to be able to survive a hit, it gets a bit dicier.
Yeah, well, and it's just such a dangerous weapon to use.
Yeah, there are some upgrades you just can't take.
Yeah. Well,
because they're a hazard to yourself.
Yeah, well, and even I'd say there's a lot of dangerous upgrades that you have to take if you want to actually get to 20 minutes with the grenade launcher.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I think that's the only weapon I still haven't won with at this point, because I just keep blowing myself up. Okay, so which one of these dark-looking games are we going to pick? I was watching some video footage of the first Resistance Fall of Man the other day, and I was like, Jesus, this is the brownest looking game I've ever seen. And now we've entered into the era of dark.
Good old sepia filter.
God, pretty much.
See, they may be dark, but at least they're not brown.
Yeah.
That period of, like, I guess, like 2010-ish, where like all the major shooters were all just super brown. It was awful.
It wasn't great.
I'm kind of leaning towards 20 minutes here.
Yeah, same.
All right. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I mean, as much as
I haven't seen enough of Alien Isolation. When you were streaming it, Matt, I didn't want to watch it because I felt like I might get scared too easy. So I get scared extremely easy when it comes to any kind of horror stuff. Like, it makes me uneasy, and I don't like that. So
I've between like just starting like Alien Isolation is the first like actual horror game I fully played through, and
that's set the dominoes in motion.
Yeah, I've kind of got a liking for horror games now.
Well, you've got a brand new VR headset, so.
Oh God!
Oh, I didn't even think of that. Oh God!
I think. Oh man, I think. Isn't like Amnesia in VR now too?
Oh dear Lord!
Probably.
That's
did RE7 ever escape PlayStation VR?
That I don't know, but I know RE8 is getting a VR update, a free VR update. So I'm pretty sure. Oh, there is Resident Evil 4 VR on Oculus.
Oh.
Apparently it cuts some stuff from the game though. It's not the full game. Yeah, I didn't even think about horror in VR when I got that.
Horror in VR, yeah. I mean, especially for anything from frictional games, I don't think I could handle it.
Yeah.
Those games are they get me.
I got spooked when a wall came at me in Beat Saber. I don't think I could handle those those games.
All right. I've always been fine watching horror games, but then like actually jumping in and playing, like, and actually getting spooked by the xenomorph and the adrenaline that comes with that, it's like, okay, yeah, I can get into this. Although eventually, like, I found as I made it further into the game, it kind of like wore off a bit. And it's just like, I'm just like making my way through, and it's just like when it comes up, it's just like, oh, this is just an inconvenience now. But it was still a great experience. But
wait, is Aliens Isolation in VR? Or Alien Isolation?
I don't know.
It's all. I was just looking up a list of like VR. I was just looking up a list of VR.
It was a 360 PS3 era release, and oh man, it has a feature on Xbox that I really wish had been on PC when I was playing it, because It's a great feature, but it's exclusive to the Kinect.
Yeah.
And it's where the game takes the microphone from the Kinect, and if it picks up on any noise, it'll actually attract the xenomorph.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, damn.
But sadly, it's not
they
on
could totally
PC.
do that for PC, though.
And
That's fucked.
I was even looking to see if anyone had modded it in, and no luck,
Oh, man.
sadly.
Okay, so it looks like VR for Alien Isolation is actually a mod.
Okay.
But it is available.
All right.
Yeah, actually, for VR horror, I think Phasmophobia might be where it's at. That's actually a multiplayer game, too,
Yeah.
which is interesting. I do want to try that game. That might be something to look into.
Okay, well. All right, but as far as coolest looking games go, we're going to be set on 20 minutes till dawn?
Yep.
I almost said 20 minutes till midnight. It's my favorite Iron Maiden song.
And there's about 3 hours still.
All right, so next we've got the lo-fi. After all this horror game talk, now we got the lo-fi award for games to chill and relax to. And my nomination is going to be Cats Organized Neatly.
Ooh,
Because that is a chill game to relax to.
that is a very chill game.
It's just got, chill music, it's chill cat meows, and it's just a nice little puzzle game until you get to a level where it's just like, God damn it, just fucking fit in the goddamn squares, you stupid cats. You keep rotating them, trying to figure it out, and I'll be honest, I got stuck. Partway through the game, I was just like, oh no. And didn't really... Got frustrated and stopped playing. But don't let that dissuade you from organizing some cats neatly.
So, yeah, I didn't realize it. It's funny jumping from, like, having Alien Isolation as my last nomination, moving into this category, going from, like, a horror nomination to chill to relax to. When my Lo-Fi award is for something based on a horror game.
What?
Okay.
Much like yours, it's also a puzzle game. It's Save Room, which is based on the attache case from Resident Evil 4, and just organizing that. And it's got. I'm ready for getting a Resident Evil 4 and using that attache case.
Man, it's I'm gonna have to break the streak of organization games here, I think. But I'm gonna go. My Lo-Fi award for a game to chill and relax to is going to Shotgun King. And I mean, in a way, like, I guess it's more fast paced than the other two, but it is a turn based game. You can take as much time as you want. But it's got some like chill music. It's got like a little scanline filter for the lo-fi.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
we're getting a good argument there.
yeah. But also, it's the kind of game that, like, I feel like I can just be like, yeah, I need something quick. I just want to like I think we were like waiting on someone to do some Darktide, and I'm just like, all right, just Shotgun King.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna chill out with this for a little bit.
In fact, watching you play, it seemed like when you weren't chilling out and relaxing, when you're trying to go super fast, you kept making mistakes.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, it's like if you're not chill and relax, you just lose because you go too fast and screw up.
All right, the scanline argument really swayed me.
Yeah.
Here. I think I'm putting my vote in for Shotgun King.
Yep, Sam.
Nice.
Sorry, we need the subtitle as well. The final checkmate.
The final, Shotgun King, the final checkmate.
Bold, that sucker. And how did I misspell? You know what? Screw you. I'm putting a Z in my organized. All right, now we're dovetailing with categories pretty great, because instead of relaxing and chilling, now we're going to get into fighting for best fighting game. Now I'm just going to get mine out of the way first, because we decided on this category, but I had only played one fighting game this year that I haven't already played before, and that's Final Fantasy Dissidia NT. and I'm nominating this to take it off because it's terrible. It's really bad. So I'm just going to rant about how bad it is for a second, then you guys can go. Because the original Dissidia games were on PSP, and they're behind-the-back 3D fighters that has a high emphasis on dodging. It has a really interesting mechanic where your weak hits don't actually damage the enemy. They build up a meter, or I say a meter, but it's really just a number, for how much your next heavy attack will do to the opponent. So a fair amount of battles kind of end up being like you, or at least how I played the game, was like getting my hits in when I can, dodging when I can, and just building up my number as high as I can go. And when you hit the enemy, their number goes down. And then trying to one-shot them. Because the heavy attacks are fairly difficult to hit, actually, especially against some of the harder CPU opponents. So I think the game, let me put it this way, the game played extremely well when you somehow had access to play a PSP game with a controller. I don't know how you would be able to do that, or how you would be able to emulate that play style, but I thought the game played way better than I thought it was, and it has a bunch of great Final Fantasy fan service, so I love that. What they did for Dissidia NT is they made exclusively 3-on-3 fights instead of 1-on-1. And now for a game where the emphasis is on dodging and kind of building up and hitting these big attacks, and it only worked because you were able to lock onto your opponent, having it be 3-on-3 is just a massive cluster that doesn't work. At all. I tried just a few fights against fairly simple CPU opponents, and it just felt like trash. There was no flow to the combat whatsoever because I would just keep getting interrupted. I couldn't focus on one enemy very well. Maybe this would be a bit better online with other players as your other people instead of CPUs. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know why. It sounds to me like maybe they saw the success of the Gundam Extreme Versus arcade series and wanted to try and recapture that with Final Fantasy.
I mean, it's also a free version, but I don't think they did. I don't know if they did a bunch of microtransactions to it. I think it's just a free version, or you buy the full game and get a bunch of characters. So I don't know. It doesn't feel like there's you need 3 people on your team, so you obviously have to acquire more characters, kind of thing going to it. So I'm not sure why they did it, and why they didn't put in any 1v1 fights in it. You could have had this as a mode. You didn't have to exclusively make the entire game this. The only reason it's not the worst game I played this year is because at times when it was a one-on-one fight, where I was the other two were fighting each other,
it actually felt good.
It felt fine. It felt like the older games. So that's the only reason why it's not also going to be my biggest bummer.
It was just too much of a clusterfuck.
Yeah, and it's just such a bad design decision, but whatever. I'm used to that.
Yeah. All right. My best fighting game. It Takes Two. It has a fighting game segment.
Oh, God damn it.
No. It's the best fighting game because you fight with your partner. No, that's a joke. No, I actually do have a best fighting game for this year.
I think I know what it is.
And it's called Your Only Move is Hustle, or Yomi Hustle for short.
Oh, right, yeah.
And so,
do you actually know what? So it was originally called Yomi Hustle.
Yes.
But there's a card-based fighting game called Yomi, and apparently they kind of went after them legally to change it. Even though there's a bunch of games that use Yomi in the name.
That's so dumb.
Because it's also a fighting game in that same vein. That's probably why they went after it. So changing the name to an abbreviation of Yomi and then Hustle is a great move.
Yeah. No,
and Your Only Move is Hustle that's a great name.
Yeah. It is a great name. I didn't even realize that it was a backronym that they came up with later. That's hilarious.
Yeah, we haven't played this yet. We need to play this, man.
Yeah. We need to play this together, against each other. I've played it a bit on my own, and it's essentially if anyone remembers those old stick fight animations where there's like crazy characters and crazy stick fight stuff. That's kind of like the inspiration. But then the thing is, there have been fighting games that try to have that. The thing is, you can only get so crazy if you have to do it in real time. And so Yomi Hustle basically says, okay, let's do it frame by frame. And so you actually pick your abilities frame by frame, and then an ability will last a certain number of frames as you're using it. And then after it's up, or after, if you get hit or something, then you get to like change what move you're attempting to do. And you can change like direction and all this stuff. It's very similar in idea to an older 3D fighting game called Tori Bash.
Oh god, Tori Bash.
Tori Bash is really, really cool. You control each muscle and limb individually, basically, in a 3D character, but it's an absolute, like, the learning curve is very steep. It's really cool once you get kind of more skilled at it, but when you first start playing, you struggle to stand up.
Yeah, like think about QWOP, except you have to punch somebody.
Yeah, it's like 3D QWOP fighting game.
Yeah.
Frame by frame, essentially, it's cool. Yomi Hustle has a similar thing, though, where, yeah, it's frame by frame, you choose different abilities. It's not like controlling individual limbs, though. It's just like you have a variety of moves, you have like mana. Well, some characters have mana. I like the wizard, personally. But there's like a ninja for that classic like stick fight kind of idea, but then they also have a wizard and a cowboy and a samurai or something like that. I think those are the characters. I don't know. It's still kind of like under development. I think it's considered open beta right now, but I really, really like what they've got so far. I think like the bones of the mechanics that they have there are really cool, and I hope that, they're able to. It's being developed by, I think, just one guy. Like, it's totally just a passion project to make something cool. And I've never seen like I said, the closest thing I've seen to it before is Tori Bash. I haven't seen anything like that in 2D before, so super cool. And then you get to watch the animation in real time at the end, and that part's the coolest part, obviously.
I do hear that sadly the online is full of a bunch, because it can take a while. It can take like half an hour for a game.
Yeah.
That sadly the online, there are a lot of rage quitters.
Wow.
That's
what private match is for.
Yeah, that's no surprise. That's like, yeah, you're going to get that in any kind of like what is fundamentally a slow-paced competitive game.
Yeah.
Though.
Yeah.
Unless you punish people like by making a ranked system that like lowers their rank for quitting early, then people are just going to quit. It's like that with any competitive game, really. Anyway, that's my nomination for best fighting game.
So moving from the slower side of things, my nomination is DNF Duel, which is fantastic. This game is it's easy to learn, hard to master. It's got smash inputs for the special moves. So
like holding?
No, like holding directions and the special button.
Okay.
So like, because some people struggle with the motions of fighting games.
Me.
Yeah, I'm not very good at a lot of them.
And yeah, no, it's just it's so fun. It's based on a DFO, which is really popular in Japan or Korea, and all the characters are just based on like the characters aren't named; they're named after the classes in DFO. So you've got like Striker, which is she's just a brawler, gets in there real quick. You've got Dragon Knight, Hitman, who I've settled on, who I affectionately refer to as Guns the Duel Man.
Yeah.
Because he's got a duster jacket, a katana, and dual Uzis.
Yep. That's good.
That's Guns the Duel Man.
Mm-hmm.
But when you watch a high-level play of this game, it's ridiculous. But even at lower level, it's so fun to play. Yeah. And very easy to pick up.
Mm-hmm. But both games, I'm like, shit, I haven't played yet.
and it also
we gotta
recently
get together and play some, man.
It recently just got an update that buffed everyone.
The best kind of update.
It's best balance patch. Just only buffs.
Buffs only.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Like Yomi Hustle, I like what I've seen. It's still very much like an early beta kind of game. There's not actually a lot there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And hearing like, how matches can maybe take up to 30 minutes, that's a bit much.
Yeah.
It's a really, really awesome idea that maybe could just use some more polishing.
Yeah, and I mean, it's still under active development. It is in no way a released game. I think the developer's planning on releasing it on Steam eventually, but right now it's just available on itch. So it's like, yeah. I think we can give it to DNF Duel.
All right.
Did not finish Duel.
Did not finish Duel versus not finished game.
Yeah. All right. Okay, so next we've got the biggest bummer. What game just sucked the energy out of the room for each of us? Like, whether it's the worst game we played or just the biggest disappointment, just something that it's just a bummer, man.
Okay, so my biggest bummer was a bit of a throwback bummer. I tried playing Mega Man Legends again at one point this year, and holy shit, that game did not age well. I remember it being a lot better than it is, to be honest. The controls in particular are absolute trash. Calling them tank controls is a disservice to tanks. The game. No. Mega Man Legends was one of those games that, like, when I first played it, when it came out, I really liked it, but only rented it and never actually finished it. Mm-hmm. And I've always wanted to go back and finish it, and then I started, and I just got so fucking pissed off at the bad controls and the stupid scripting that didn't work properly and just the annoying bullshit. And I'm like, ugh.
And you even played it, with some graphic enhancements.
It looked
too.
beautiful.
Yeah, I played it. Yeah, and I had
it looked much better than it used to.
I had the PSX emulator, like, making it look as good as, like, a modern era low poly, like, intentional low poly style game. Like, I think aesthetically the game's actually great, but no, the controls are a disaster. I hated it. I really wanted to go back and, like, enjoy that game again and finish it, and I don't think I can. The controls are too frustrating to me. And then, yeah, my other more of a throwback, not throwback, biggest bummer was a game called The Ascent. I think I talked about this on the podcast a little bit. And
I don't know if you did or not.
Maybe I didn't, because I was probably gonna talk about it after I had finished it, but I did not continue playing that game, and I won't continue playing that game.
Really? It bummed you out that hard?
Yeah. Like, so it's a twin stick sort of RPG shooter. Okay? That's all right. That sounds like it could be interesting. And it's got co-op. And so I'm like, okay, cool. I'm always on the lookout for a good co-op game, right? But it's kind of annoying because, like, aesthetically, the game's actually surprisingly nice. Like, there are some really beautiful, there's like a really beautiful overworld city area that honestly, like, wouldn't be out of place in, like, Cyberpunk 2077 almost. Like, maybe it doesn't have as many reflections, but in terms of, like, the detail of, like, all the, like, random people with their various weird conversations in the background and, like, silly titles of, silly titled bars and businesses with, like, crazy neon splashed, neon soaked, like, fucking stuff. Like the game looks good and the atmosphere is like pretty good, but the gameplay itself just isn't good. And the RPG system needs work. And especially like the equipment was like really just not good.
Yeah,
it was a janky upgrade system.
I'm looking at some screenshots here, and it does look really nice.
Yeah, the game looks actually really nice. But yeah, I was hoping for like kind of a nice, fun co-op game. And yeah, I just mechanically, the game just kind of annoyed me. It wasn't very good. And the gameplay felt kind of repetitive and samey. So it just wasn't fun to play. Like, it seemed to have great looking, great graphics and like good art direction. And like even the voiceovers were like not amazing, but like solid voiceover. And so I'm like, okay, yeah. But yeah, the gameplay itself was just bad. So kind of annoying, I guess, in that sense. Like, it feels like it could have been a much better game than it is if they had polished the core gameplay. But that's always like the death knell for a game. If you didn't get the core gameplay right, it doesn't matter what else you did well. If it's just frustrating to play, like, fuck it.
Mm-hmm. I can agree with you there.
So my biggest bummer, I actually enjoyed the game, but there was an aspect to it that just I really didn't enjoy, and that's Quantum Break.
Okay.
Like it's your run of the mill cover shooter, but you've got time based abilities. And I like what it does with like actually casting real actors and having them modeled in game, and then between each act in the game you get like a full 23 minute live action episode. It's really unique and I like that. But at the end of each act, it gives you this... It sets it up as being like some big choice to make. But all it does is it just like alters things slightly. It doesn't do anything major, and and the game just ends up in one ending. There's only one ending. Like, if those choices actually mattered to make it go out into branching paths and have like an actual different endings, I think that would have been better. And that kind of bummed me out on the game a bit.
Yeah, but then they would have had to shoot more TV episodes. Probably. There's some alternate scenes or something. Yeah, that's a pretty big bummer, for sure. Okay, so my biggest bummer, it's not going to be Final Fantasy Dissidia NT. It's not going to be that particular PSP Final Fantasy game that got basically just like gussied up for new platforms.
It's there, guys.
No, it's going to be a different Final Fantasy game that they released originally on the PSP that they gussied up for new platforms.
Oh my god.
It's going to be Final Fantasy Type 0 HD. This game sucks. This game sucks so bad.
Just the name alone, I'm just like, that's a bad name.
It's not great.
Doesn't this game tie into the 13 universe?
It's in the Fabula Nova Crystallis, whatever universe or whatever the hell that thing is. But it doesn't feel like it at all from the little that I played. I bounced off this game so fast. So there's two reasons why this is the biggest bummer for me. One is the gameplay. Like, the Final Fantasy team should not be making action games. They really shouldn't. They need to farm this stuff out more. Because it just didn't play well. Like, I lost multiple times in, like, the first couple levels. Just because the dodging was so janky that I couldn't do it properly. As well, you have to, like, loot corpses for rewards, but the rewards go away quite quickly. Oh. So you can't just, like, focus on clearing out the enemies and then go grab the stuff. You have to, focus on going to grab the rewards and everything. And it's not like something like, in maybe, I don't know, Fable, like the orbs or whatever. You have a pretty decent radius on collecting those things. You got to get right up on them and point your camera at them to get the extra loot.
I'm wondering if too much stuff on screen
maybe
causes the performance to tank, and that's why they're making it disappear.
Yeah, but this is a PS4 game, not a PSP game.
Yeah.
And the other reason is that the balls on them, the audacity on them to slap HD on the end of this game is so blatant. All right, the in-game combat, it's a little bit higher res, but it's definitely pretty muddy. It's not it's not quite HD there. The cutscenes, on the other hand, look like they took the PSP cutscenes and blew them up.
Oh no!
They look atrocious. And it blew me away. It's like, oh my god, of all the things you could have put on this to say this is a re-release of this game, put HD and did fuck all to it, except give it a proper camera.
This sounds like a YouTube video, like using AI to upscale the shitty PSP cutscenes to do better than fucking...
I'd like to see some AI upscale on those cutscenes to see what they could look like, because they're so bad. And this is coming from, freaking Square Enix. They have some of the best pre-rendered cutscenes in the game industry, in my opinion. And
I mean, they've been doing it for so long.
Yeah.
They're too focused on NFTs. That's why.
What?
Don't get me started. Do not get me started, okay? If I want Biggest Bummer to extend outside of actual games, then yeah, the fucking NFT
Square
craze.
Enix tripling down on NFTs.
Yeah. But yeah, so...
Man,
they call it Type 0. I give it a 0 out of 10.
The only time I want to see like type anything in a game title is if it's a shmup and it's like type R.
Well,
or like
R-type.
R-type, right? Or if you're trying to make a shmup and you put type in the name because you're clearly evoking that, I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. Otherwise, it just sounds like this just sounds dumb.
Oh, also it stars a fucking Combat Academy kids. I hate that aesthetic so bad.
HD stands for herder.
I don't know. Are we voting on what the biggest bummer is?
Yeah. This isn't the best of these. This is going to be the worst. I'm tempted to vote for Mega Man Legends.
I'm tempted to vote for the Ascent just because of how great that game looks.
I know, it looks way better than it plays.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the failed potential there is a good argument.
Yeah. Like I was actually really surprised because they clearly spent a lot of money and time and effort in making on the art assets.
Yeah.
Not like the visual art, the design and the voiceover, and just like I said, like that city area, there weren't like copy pasted stores or anything. It was a surprisingly large cyberpunk style city where like every single storefront business is different. Yeah, and I'm like someone spent a lot of time on the environments in that game, but the game sucks.
Yeah, one of the screenshots I saw, it's just in the background you see like all these different neon signs for all these different stores, and that looked great.
Yeah. I mean,
do you know who the developer was for this?
I'm gonna have to check because it must have. It has to have been a surprisingly large budget game.
They pushed it fairly hard on Game Pass, and I know Microsoft showed this during at least one E3 press conference. Or E3 press conference for whatever E3 happened.
Yeah, so okay, it was developed by Neon Giant, Swedish indie studio, 12 people, but this was apparently their debut game.
Yeah, I don't see anything else from them on Steam.
Well, I mean, if they get a couple gameplay people in there, maybe their next game will be sick, but...
Keep that art style.
They clearly got some good artists over there. Okay, I'm feeling good about the Ascent. Well, I'm feeling bad about the Ascent.
You're feeling bad about it?
Yeah.
Feeling good about feeling bad about the Ascent. Mm-hmm. Sure. Yeah, and I think, that's a good way to put it. It's just, it could be a lot more than it is.
Mm-hmm. All right, now we've got the big one, the GUI, the game of our year. This is going to be horrible. I know me and Matt have been waffling on our choices. up until still now for me.
Yeah.
I think I've.
I almost want to nominate
choice.
like a few games for this, but on the other hand, like
Make it harder to vote.
it might make it easier, honestly.
Yeah.
Or I could just go out there and slam down a game, put my hour behind it. Alex, are you like pretty solid on your game of the year?
I mean,
Or are you also like kind of
if I'm being honest, I'm actually really solid about the game of my year. Mm-hmm. And that was the game of our year last year, Outer Wilds.
Damn it.
And like, I'm kind of like,
I want to disqualify, and not even because I didn't like that game so much, but we can't give it to the same game 2 years in a row.
I know, we can't give it to the same game 2 years in a row, but I fucking loved Outer Wilds.
Honorable mention, sure.
Outer Wilds is a great game. There's a reason that people are still talking about Outer Wilds today, even though the game was from like 2018? 2019? Anyway.
I still need to play the DLC.
I bought the DLC, so I have not touched the DLC yet, but yeah, it's a great game.
Maybe the DLC can win next year.
Maybe the DLC can win next year. Yeah, if I had to nominate a second game, I would nominate 20 Minutes Till Dawn.
Okay, good. That's one of the ones that was in very close contention for me.
Yeah, because that it's just so tightly, it's just got such a tight game loop. Mm-hmm. And we talked about it, it looks very good. But like it's very focused, I think. Like, and not just from the development perspective, but like what it like makes you do in terms of like choosing your upgrades. There's a lot of games that have like progression where, any individual upgrade maybe doesn't matter that much. And, you can make some bad choices and it doesn't really matter. 20 Minutes Till Dawn, every upgrade basically matters. And like, unless you're at the point where your build's just popping off so hard that you're going to win no matter what.
Yeah.
And then the last few don't really matter. But until you get to that point, like, make or break, a single bad pick or questionable pick can be the end of your run. And I like that a lot. A lot of other games where it's like, oh yeah, it's like plus 5% fire rate. And I'm kind of like, and that's like a good upgrade. But is it though? Every upgrade in 20 Minutes Till Dawn like is a noticeable difference to your play.
One thing that I've been especially impressed with 20 Minutes Till Dawn is that, it's an early access game. I haven't really followed many or any game through its early access development. This is like the first one that I have. But the changes that they're making, not even like the stuff they're adding, the changes they're making to existing stuff makes total sense. Like, I put 40 hours into the game. I really like hammered down and like knew all the upgrades and what they were doing, which ones were way overpowered, to the point where I said this is like a problem that they're so overpowered. And then the next patch they got nerfed, and stuff that I wanted to get buffed got buffed. Like it feels like they're making, the developer behind it is making very good decisions on how they want the balance of that game to go. And as well, some of the stuff that they've added has been pretty nice as well. Like the other maps that they have added, the characters have been interesting so far.
There's new maps?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I last touched it.
Yeah, and the maps are kind of cool because they basically add different restrictions to the environment. Like the base environment is a more or less infinite plane in every direction. One of the maps restricts you vertically so that you're actually, there's like 2 walls, but you can still, I think, go infinitely to the left and right. So now the play field is like kind of like a line with some width. And then there's another one that's a straight up just arena where you are now stuck in this arena. And it's fairly simple, but those change the way that you play it a lot. And especially some of the bosses are quite a bit different in those.
Yeah, there's different
arenas.
bosses, different enemies.
Yeah, and there's some different enemies in some of the other maps too. So
Yeah, I think that's an excellent pick.
Yep.
And is a weight off my shoulders. that was literally like one of the 3 that I was very, very close to picking.
yeah, the other thing is 20 minutes till dawn. It came out. We all and like 4 or 5 of us are just like getting on Discord and then yeah, you got to buy this game.
Yeah.
It's super cheap.
Let's all start streaming it at the same time.
We're all streaming it.
Yeah. Well, and then we
basically had 4 players split screen, 20 minutes going on.
Yeah, and then we were all playing it, and we kept doing that.
And that was such a great experience because we were all discovering everything simultaneously and being able to say oh, I like this, or this is really, really good, or oh, I've got this 6 summon run going. I got the dragon really early.
Yeah.
And stuff. So it was a really, really fresh.
Yeah, but there's not a lot of games where I'm yeah, the gameplay is basically perfect. Mechanically, the game is excellent. Mm-hmm. It is absolutely nailed the game loop really, really well. So yeah, that's really one of the most important things when it comes down to it.
Mm-hmm. And unlike other roguelikes, roguelites,
it's roguelite-ish.
Yeah, you know exactly how long a run will potentially take.
Yeah, it's 20 minutes. If you want quick play, you can do 10 minutes.
Yeah, and then you die early and you're like, oh, I can do another run.
Yeah. Or you play endless and play for 2.5 hours like I did one time. Turns out percentage-based damage is really good.
Well, I think Endless was a bit busted when they first released it.
I think it's still busted.
Yeah, probably.
So does
they had to make some choices.
Does Endless let you take upgrades you already have again?
Yes, you could take up to 3 of the same upgrade.
Okay. Yeah.
And then I was playing as Shauna, so you are also able to get 3 of each character's individual perks. So I got specialization as well, which gives you 3 of your next upgrade. So I was stacking some stuff. I stacked max HP a lot and healing. I just tried to make myself invincible, but the enemies got too powerful.
Oh,
but yeah, a lot of great stuff in that game, which is good because you nominated that. Now I can nominate World of Final Fantasy for my game of the year. And I was. The only reason I was hesitant about this one really is just because this is the most recent game I played. So I'm like, oh, recency bias, that exists. But then I think about it, it's like, no, this game rules. I thought I was going to be sick of creature collecting after playing through Pokemon Shield, then playing most of the way through a Pokemon Nuzlocke run, then playing through all of 100 hours or whatever into Pokemon Scarlet too. So that was a lot of Pokemon in a condensed period of time, but I still decided to try this game out, and I've been having a blast with it so far. The tone of it is fantastic because it takes itself with zero seriousness for most of the game. The characters, your 2 main characters, one of them is too stupid to live. It embodies that trope.
Oh, good.
Okay. And the other one, plays the straight character, but also has their own little, quirks that are very charming, very fun. All the little Final Fantasy, monsters that you fought throughout so many games. You're fighting and collecting. The stack mechanic of stacking the monsters, in these totem poles is really, really interesting because they, combine their, stats, they combine their elemental weaknesses, ailment affinity, as well as if multiple in your stack have a fire spell, then you can use, 2 of them have fire, then you can cast Fyra or Firaga. So doubling down on elements can give you, stronger of that element, but then probably make you weaker to other elements. So you can choose whether you want to, put all your eggs in one basket, diversify, whatever. As well, getting attacked over and over again will cause your stack to start wobbling and eventually cause it to topple over.
Okay, that's cool.
And then you have your 3 characters on the field at the same time. But because, when they're in a stack, all their stats combine they're a lot more powerful in the stack. But when they're individual, like you're never going to have better DP. You're usually not going to have better DPS individually, but that means that you can use items with each of them individually. You're also not going. It seems like you're going to get more turns, but it's an active time system, so their turns come up less often when they're unstacked, and you can unstack manually and stack up if you want to. So that adds a really interesting dynamic to the combat. Enemies are also sometimes alone, sometimes in stacks. So you have different attacks that are more focused on doing stack damage to your opponents to kind of like split them up and try and take them out while they're knocked around. And it's the game, because you're interacting with all these different Final Fantasy monsters, you're also interacting with all these different Final Fantasy locations and protagonists. They bring out a lot of the old stuff. So it's a completely fan service game, and I'm all in for it.
Is there any point where the stack puts on a trench coat?
No. In terms of like fun stuff that they do with the stacks, a lot of the NPCs are just have something on their head, like whether it be a pot or an apple or a fish flopping around on there. Unfortunately, all the NPCs and the Final Fantasy protagonists that you meet throughout the game look like Funko Pops.
Ugh.
Oh yeah, okay. I'm
pretty sure it's not like Well, okay, it's entirely intentional. I don't think it's branded, is what I'm trying to say here. So I kind of can't shake that a little bit. But
I'm not a fan of Funko Pop.
Some of them look okay.
Some of them do.
But a
lot look very samey.
Yeah, but so many of them just look the exact same.
Yeah. I mean,
pretty much
they're the same molds, okay?
Yeah, like every humanoid Funko Pop, I'm not in for that. Some of the non-humanoid ones look okay.
The Godzilla one looks pretty cute.
The voice acting is really good. They got a lot of the protagonists that have been voice acted in the past. They got the same voice actors back.
It's always good.
So I mean, we got Troy Baker in there voicing Snow. We got James Arnold Taylor in there voicing Tidus. And it really just goes to show that Final Fantasy X, the voice acting was bad because of voice direction.
Yeah.
I never thought I'd say this, but the most annoying Final Fantasy protagonist is not annoying in this game, just because he has better, actually good voice direction in this game. They even make fun of the voice direction in Final Fantasy X at one point.
Wow.
Do you know the laughing scene?
I know the meme.
10's one of the few I've played. I know this.
Yeah. Well, there's one location that's from Final Fantasy X, and when you get there, one of the characters is like, oh, the air here is so fresh, it just makes me want to laugh. And he fucking does his best impression of the fucking ha 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 Tidus laugh from that game. And then 10 minutes later, you meet Tidus.
Wow.
And is actually voice acted well. So they put a lot of effort into this game to make it just like a fantastic game for Final Fantasy fans. So I'm in for that. And, okay, the best part about it, so far has been the big bad of the game. Not necessarily because of his actions, his design, or anything like that, but his voice actor. Because his voice actor is Tony Amendola, who you probably only know as Master Braytak from our Stargate SG-1.
Oh, what?
And he does a very good villain voice.
Okay.
It's really good.
I can see that. I can imagine that. Okay.
He's done some voices in some games. He's done a few for World of Warcraft and a few others that I'm forgetting at this very moment. He was also in the Castlevania Netflix series.
Oh, was he? Okay. Wait, who did he play in that one? Wait, was he the bishop?
I think he was just the elder, maybe? It was a very nondescript. It wasn't a character name.
It wasn't a big role. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
But
all right, cool. So
love some Stargate.
So I'm just thinking about this trench coat, and I'm just like, there's no. If you stack the black mages, do you get like a black mage with a really long robe?
No,
that would be funny.
You can have a little black mage on top of your head though. It's very cute.
Yeah.
All right, so mine came down to 2 games, and they're the first 2 games in a series.
Oh, God damn it.
Resident Evil 1 or 2 were my choices, and I think I've settled on 1. Specifically Resident Evil HD, which is an HD port of the GameCube version of Resident Evil.
But how many Jill sandwiches does it have?
None, sadly. None that I found. I think that's only in the original.
Were you able to become the master of unlocking? The only thing I know about Resident Evil are the memes, man.
The memes,
okay.
Yeah.
I mean, the first couple were...
And the really, really good, bad live-action intro to that game.
But prior to this year, my only experience with Resident Evil, outside of the memes, had been watching all but the last Resident Evil movie.
Oh, God.
Mila Jovovich's finest work.
But I was not expecting Resident Evil to hook me the way it did. Because I only got into it because there was a fantastic deal on Humble Bundle, which was like $40 for Resident Evil 0 through 7, plus Revelations 1 and 2, and a 50% off coupon for 8. Which I didn't use. I let the coupon expire because I figure by the time I get up to 8, I can get cheaper than 50% off anyways.
Maybe, yeah.
Especially since the gold edition's out now with the DLC. But yeah, being my first venture into the survival horror genre, I was not expecting it to hook me the way it did. I did both. I played through both as I played as Jill first, and then I was plodding along, and then at some point it just clicked, and I was just hooked. So pretty much as soon as I finished, I did the Chris playthrough, and I actually got the best ending on both playthroughs first try without looking anything up.
All right.
And I mean now I'm on Resident Evil 2 and the recent remake, which is also really good. And I'm currently on my 4th playthrough.
Holy shit.
Mostly because, well, you've got the Leon and the Claire playthroughs, but then completing the first time you unlock their second playthroughs, which have the true ending. But I think after this, I don't think there's many more that'll require multiple playthroughs. But
yeah.
No, I have been enjoying Resident Evil 2 a lot as well. It took a lot longer for this one to click with me. But once it did, I pretty much finished my first playthrough and then just went right through 2 more. But no, the first Resident Evil though, Resident Evil HD, the game looks great. Because of the beautiful pre-rendered backgrounds they used. And the fixed camera angles didn't bother me as much as I thought it would. Mostly because this version allows you to turn off tank controls.
Yep. Who thought people should drive like tanks?
Now, there is actually one Resident Evil game, when I get to it, I will have to play with tank controls because there is no other option.
Oh, yeah?
Because at one point last year, I bought a 360 game.
Oh, wow.
Because Code Veronica X went on sale for like $5. Just a couple days after I was looking at the $20 price tag on, and I was like, wait, I should see if this game has alternatives to tank controls. And then when I found that there were no alternatives, I'm like, no, $20 is too steep for that. But then it went on sale a couple days later, and it's like, $5 is right.
Oh my god!
But I'm saving that for the end of playing through everything else, because I'm not gonna get hung up on something because I'm trying to do tank controls.
The airship in World of Final Fantasy has tank controls.
It's an airship, though. At least that kind of makes sense.
You literally never have to use it. You can just select places from a map instead, but it's got tank controls.
Like apparently Resident Evil 4 is also tank controls, but it's not as bad because it's an over-the-shoulder view. Mm-hmm. You're not in fixed camera it's not fixed camera. So it's a lot more manageable. But when it's fixed camera like that, it's just no.
Yeah, it's like whenever you change like environments, like change screens, like who knows which way you're facing, you might just go back the way you came if you're not careful.
If I'm holding a direction on the stick with tank controls off, and the camera switches, as long as I keep holding that direction, I'm still going to keep moving forward until I release. Mm-hmm. So
yeah. The only Resident Evil game I've really played a lot of, and in fact I beat it and finished it, was Resident Evil 5, and it was just okay. The game was like just good enough that I didn't stop playing it until I beat it, but it wasn't really that good.
Yeah. I feel like I don't know how 6 is, but I feel like 5 and 6 are kind of going to be like a little bit of a...
Yeah, I heard 6 wasn't much better.
I've heard 6 was quite bad, and 5 is an action game.
Yeah,
5's not even... Well, it's a pretty slow action game, though.
For Resident Evil standards.
But yes, it is. But yes, it's not survival horror. I've never considered any of the Resident Evil games to be survival horror, though I haven't really played them that much, so I don't know.
Well, I mean, it depends, like... How campy do you allow your survival horror game to still be called survival horror?
They're super campy. Like, so that just doesn't seem like survival horror to me.
Well, a lot of horror movies are super campy. So I think it's fine.
Yeah, okay, yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah, no, like Resident Evil, it doesn't take itself too seriously. Like,
no.
What I know of 5 is there's a scene where Chris just starts punching a rock. Like a huge boulder to just get it out of the way.
Oh,
and then
God.
There's a boss fight in 8, because I have seen a lot of 8 from watching a friend play it. And there's a callback to that in a boss fight in 8 where the boss is just like, I'm going to kill you and that boulder punching asshole.
Wow.
Okay, that's awesome. They know. The most experience I've had with the Resident Evil game is getting bodied by Wesker in Marvel vs. Capcom 3. So.
Oh man, I love Wesker's theme in Marvel 3.
It's really nice. That's the one good thing about being bodied by him is you get your ass beat to a good soundtrack. All right, so in terms of what wins here, I think we know what wins just because it's the game we all played.
And I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am too.
20 minutes, chosen instantly.
Though I do like what I'm hearing about World of Final Fantasy.
It's quite good.
Aside from the loops you had to get through to get to run.
That's... Yeah, Square Enix's Steam ports are bad. Basically, to get the DLC to work, I had to change an INI file, and you also only start it via right-clicking the executable and running it as administrator. One other thing I forgot to mention is that because of the modification to the INI file, it basically puts Steam in a perpetual state of thinking the game needs to be updated, but not having the permissions to be able to update it.
And actually...
what if the game actually gets an update?
It's old.
Oh. Okay, then.
And actually, thinking about it, 7 Remake also runs better if you... through like Steam or Epic, because I have it on Epic. If you go into the, what's the option that allows you to add lines of text to like modify how it runs in Steam?
Like
command line arguments.
Command line flags.
So
wait, what?
For Final Fantasy VII Remake, make it run in DirectX 11 instead of 12.
Oh, fun.
Interesting.
Hey, I remember adding command line arguments to Battlefield 2142 to skip the intro. All right, that's good times.
That's legit. Fucking unskippable intro. Why would you ever do that?
All right, so we're good with 20 minutes till dawn as the game of our year 2022 for 3 levels deep. And let's just go over the other awards that we went over today because, well, coolest looking game was also 20 minutes till dawn.
Yeah.
With Alien Isolation and Warhammer 40k Darktide being the dark horses of that award there. Next, the LoFi award for games to chill and relax to. We had Cats Organized Neatly, Save Room, and then Shotgun King, the final checkmate, as the winner.
He just took that shotgun and got rid of the competition.
Yeah,
It was indeed the final checkmate.
Mm-hmm. Best fighting game was Yomi Hustle and DNF Duel, with DNF Duel being the superior acronym. Biggest bummer, we had Mega Man Legends, Quantum Break, Final Fantasy Type 0 HD with the Ascent taking it. Good on ya for that. And of course, the game of our year with World of Final Fantasy and Resident Evil 1 HD remake.
Resident Evil HD.
Resident Evil HD, all right. Being the...
How many times has it been re-released?
I mean, they remade it for the
as-
GameCube, and then they re-released the
And then they
GameCube
just
version.
Did an HD up res.
Not as
that
many
one.
as real Resident Evil 4.
At this
Yeah.
point, yeah. If
and
they
now-
point to VR, they might be tied.
And now this year, Resident Evil 4 gets its remake.
Yep.
Not another port, but an actual remake.
Oh, man.
Oh, boy. But
I'm probably going to try playing those back to back.
yeah, that's a lot of Resident Evil, but don't let that distract you from the 2022 game of our year, the GUI, 20 minutes till dawn. That's right, we picked a game that's not even frickin' finished. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed this trip down, I guess, our memory lanes. Not necessarily the years, because again, these were the games that we played this year and defined our year. So we thought that we'd share that and why they're so great and why you should play them too, with a few exceptions. Thanks for listening, and tune in for the rest of 2023.
Man, I didn't talk about Noida at all.